Welcome to Deep Dive. Today we're taking on a subject that's, well, it's been causing quite a stir, hasn't it? It's impacting countless individuals globally. The recent, significant changes to the U.S. visa interview waiver programs. You probably know it as Dropbox. Our mission today is to really unpack what these updates mean for you, especially if you're looking to renew a non-immigrant U.S. visa, and crucially, lay out the essential steps you need to take now.
Yeah, absolutely. And this isn't just a minor tweak, we're seeing a really profound shift here. It feels like a return to much stricter pre-pandemic processing standards. This came through a major update on July 25, 2025, and it goes into effect very, very soon, September 2, 2025. And importantly, this new guidance explicitly supersedes those earlier, more lenient policies from back in February 2025. It has immediate, tangible implications for anyone who had appointments scheduled or, was planning to apply soon.
Okay, let's unpack that. Because for many, the Dropbox program, as you said, has been a real lifesaver. It just made a potentially complex process much smoother. But maybe for listeners who aren't quite as familiar, what exactly is this interview waiver program, and why was it so popular, especially over the last few years?
Yeah, it's interesting. The official name is the Interview Waiver Program, and it really aimed to simplify visa renewals. It basically allowed eligible applicants to bypass that sometimes lengthy and, let's be honest, sometimes nerve-wracking in-person interview at a U.S. embassy or consulate. Instead, you could simply submit your required documents at a visa application center, a VAC. It was all about efficiency. Then, during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, its scope was dramatically expanded, really widened. The eligibility window for renewing a visa without an interview, it stretched from the standard 12 months to an extended 48 months from your previous visa's expiration date.
48 months, that's 4 years.
Exactly, 4 full years. Plus, and this was huge, you could even qualify if you were applying for a different visa category as long as you had any prior non-immigrant visa. This massive expansion, really critical measure, to help manage consular backlogs, minimize in-person contact for health reasons, and just keep essential travel moving. It genuinely made visa renewal much more accessible for millions, cutting down stress and wait times considerably.
And that flexibility really became the norm for so many people, didn't it? It sort of set expectations. So for many listeners, that news on July 25th must have felt like hitting a brick wall. People had plans and lives arranged around that system. What exactly changed almost overnight, it seems, with this new policy that's effective September 2nd? This is where it gets, really important and frankly, probably a bit stressful for a lot of people listening.
It really does. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this update signifies a sweeping tightening of the rules, a real pullback. As of September 2, 2025, almost all non-immigrant visa applicants will generally be required to attend an in-person interview with a consular officer, and that includes individuals of all ages, even children under 14, and adults over 79 who were, previously often exempt under those broader waiver provisions.
Wow, even kids and seniors, that's a significant change.
It really is. That's a significant reversal. And the eligibility window for renewals without an interview, it's reverted from that pandemic era, 48 months, right back to the much shorter 12 months from the prior visa's expiration. Furthermore, and this is the really crucial point, you must now be renewing a visa in the exact same non-immigrant visa classification as your previous one. So like you said, if you had an F1 student visa and now you need an H1B temporary worker visa, you absolutely won't qualify for Dropbox anymore. No way. This change explicitly supersedes the interview waiver update issued just back in February 2025. It effectively rolls back all those generous pandemic-era flexibilities. We're back to a stricter pre-pandemic standard. It's a fundamental reset, really.
So unless you're maybe a diplomat or in a similar category, the default assumption now is you're going to need an interview. That's a huge mental shift and a practical one for millions who've relied on Dropbox. Given this broad sweep, what specific visa types or categories are going to feel the brunt of this? Who's really losing that convenient Dropbox option?
That's exactly the question on everyone's mind. Does this affect my visa type? And the answer, largely, is yes. The policy change effectively ends the interview waiver for nearly all major non-immigrant visa categories. It's a very broad impact. We're talking H visas for temporary workers, L visas for intra-company transferees, F&M visas for students and vocational trainees, J visas for exchange visitors that include scholars, au pairs, also E visas for treaty traders and investors, and O visas for individuals with extraordinary ability. They're all directly affected. That covers a huge portion of the entire non-immigrant visa applicant pool.
That is a truly extensive list. It covers so many common situations. Are there any categories left? Or maybe very narrow circumstances where the interview waiver might still apply, even with these much stricter rules. It sounds like it's almost entirely gone.
It is almost entirely gone. The exceptions are very limited now. It's primarily for diplomatic and official visa applicants. Think categories like A1, A2, C3, G1 through G4, NATO 1 through NATO 6, and TECRO E1. So, government officials, people working for international organizations. Beyond that, there's a very narrow group renewing certain B1, B2, or B1, B2 visitor visas, or maybe a border crossing card for Mexican nationals who might still qualify. But even for them, the conditions are incredibly strict. Their prior visa must have expired within the last 12 months.
Okay, that 12-month rule again.
Exactly. They must have been at least 18 when that visa was issued. They have to apply in their country of nationality or residence, have no prior visa refusals unless they were overcome or waived, and critically have no apparent ineligibility. But here's the real kicker.
There's more.
Yes. Even if you meet all those conditions, a consular officer can still decide, using their discretion, that you need an in-person interview anyway, for basically any reason. So even if you think you tick every single box, the final decision still rests with the individual officer reviewing your case. That adds a significant layer of unpredictability, uncertainty for applicants. It essentially means there are no guarantees anymore.
That unpredictability alone must be causing incredible anxiety for people trying to plan travel, careers, family visits. This sounds like a truly massive operational shift for the consulates, too. Beyond the individual applicant's stress, what are the broader real-world implications? Especially thinking about individuals planning renewals, maybe in high-demand places like India, and crucially for the employers who sponsor so many non-immigrant workers.
Oh, the implications are profound. They ripple outwards. With so many more applicants now needing in-person interviews, U.S. consulates, particularly in those high-demand locations like, say, New Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Hyderabad, and India, they're expected to face a significant surge in appointment wait times. And remember, these are systems that were often already managing considerable backlogs, even with the waiver program. Just to give you some context, current wait times can vary wildly depending on the visa and location. You might see 429 days for a visitor visa somewhere, 85 days for a student visa.
Maybe quicker for workers.
Sometimes, yeah, maybe only 15 days for temporary workers in some places, or just 1 day for crew and transit visas. But this shift, it's going to put immense pressure across the board. It's highly likely to push those temporary worker visa wait times up considerably. It could lead to really substantial travel delays for almost everyone needing an interview.
And that's a huge burden for individuals. I can only imagine the stress and uncertainty that creates. We're already hearing reports, like you mentioned, of people like Sandeep B being turned away from VACs, even with appointments booked under the old rules being told, nope, you need an interview now. Or Grishma V left totally unsure if she could even reuse her existing online application form or had to start over. It's not just an inconvenience, it forces a strategic rethink for businesses too, right?
Yeah.
What does this mean for employers?
Absolutely. For employers, this isn't just a temporary blip. It signals a fundamental need to factor in much, much longer lead times. For international transfers, for new hires needing renewals, it could significantly alter global mobility strategies. Non-immigrant workers might face serious disruptions if they can't get timely visa renewals. They could potentially get stuck abroad for extended periods, unable to return to their U.S. jobs. Employers should also brace themselves for more instances of administrative processing.
Administrative processing, that dreaded term.
Exactly. Which often means additional background checks or security clearances that can significantly stretch the overall wait time, sometimes by weeks or even months, with little information given. This can delay work start dates, impact project timelines. It's a real issue. And let's not forget dependents. This policy change also affects H-4 and L-2 visa holders, for example, spouses and children. They now have to meet these stricter criteria too, which could complicate family travel plans, lead to separations. It adds another layer of difficulty that really does hint at a broader shift, perhaps back towards a more deliberate, maybe more cautious approach to visa issuance post-pandemic.
That's a really critical point about the potential underlying shift. You mentioned people are already seeing appointments canceled. We've heard these widespread reports appointments booked perhaps months ago for August, even September 2025 just being canceled, often with little warning. What should someone do right now today if they log in and find their expected Dropbox appointment is gone? It must be incredibly frustrating.
It is incredibly frustrating, and it's happening now. Consular posts are actively canceling appointments booked under those previous more lenient rules, especially for August and September 2025. So, if your appointment got canceled, here's what you need to do basically step by step. First, check your email very carefully. Look for any official cancellation notice from the U.S. Consular Post. It might have specific instructions.
Okay, check email first.
Right. Then log into your visa profile. That's the online portal where you book the appointment initially. Confirm the cancellation there and begin the rescheduling process. Be aware. The system has likely updated its eligibility questions based on the new rules. So you might need to go back and restart the waiver renewal questions to make sure you're assessed under the new criteria. Don't just assume your old answers carry over.
Ah, okay, so you might have to re-answer those screening questions.
Exactly. Now, one small bit of good news. This specific cancellation does not count against the maximum number of times you're normally allowed to reschedule. So you don't lose one of your rescheduling chances because of this policy change.
That's helpful, at least.
It is. But here's a potential snag. Be very aware of your visa fee validity, that MRV fee, the application fee you paid. If you paid it more than 365 days ago, you may, unfortunately, need to pay it again. Consular posts generally do not extend the validity of these fee payments beyond 1 year.
Ouch. That could be an unexpected cost for people.
It really could. It catches a lot of people out, so check that payment date. And finally, if you run into any problems during rescheduling, if the online system is confusing or glitchy, don't hesitate to contact the consular support desk for your specific post. They are the official channel for help. Proactivity is absolutely essential right now. Don't wait.
That's incredibly practical advice, especially that point about the fee validity. Definitely something for listeners to check immediately if their appointment was canceled. So pulling this all together, what does this mean for you, the listener, if you're planning a U.S. visa renewal now or in the near future? What are the absolute key takeaways, the recommendations to navigate this new, much more complex landscape and hopefully minimize the disruption?
Okay, boiling it down. Given these updated policies, the absolute main theme is meticulous planning and being proactive. You really have to take charge of the process more now. First, verify your eligibility rigorously. And do this before you even start the renewal process online. If your previous visa expired more than 12 months ago, or if you're applying for a different visa category than your last one, just assume you must prepare for an in-person interview. Don't waste time hoping for a waiver that likely won't apply.
Right. Manage expectations from the start.
Precisely. Second, plan ahead. And I mean well in advance of any planned travel. Because we anticipate longer wait times for interview appointments, just getting a slot could be a challenge. Regularly check the U.S. consulate's appointment availability online. Be persistent. Slots can open up unexpectedly, but often get snapped up fast.
Good check often. Got it.
Third, ensure your documentation is perfect. Down to the smallest detail. Even minor errors or omissions can lead to processing delays or, worst case, even a refusal. Make sure you have everything. Valid passport, your previous visa stamp, any relevant approval notices like the I-797 for work visas.
That's the petition approval notice.
Correct. Your employment verification letter, recent pay stubs, the DS-160 confirmation page from your online application, and your visa fee payment receipt. Have it all organized and double-check everything. Fourth, stay updated on policy changes. As we've just seen, visa rules can change with very little notice. Consistently consult the official U.S. Embassy and consulate websites for your country. They have the latest procedures, wait times, and any operational updates. Don't rely solely on forums or third-hand info. Go to the source.
Official sources are key.
Absolutely. And finally, if your case is complex, maybe you have a previous refusal or some unusual circumstances, consider seeking professional guidance. An experienced immigration attorney can provide personalized advice tailored to your specific situation. They can really help you navigate these evolving policies and potentially save you a lot of time, money, and stress.
That seems like sound advice for complex cases. So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's crystal clear, isn't it? The U.S. visa interview waiver program has gone through a really significant transformation. We've essentially reverted to a much stricter pre-pandemic standard. This sweeping shift means many more applicants, especially if you're in those common H, L, F, M, and J categories, will now almost certainly face mandatory in-person interviews, and that likely means potentially much longer wait times. The immediate impact we're seeing includes those canceled August and September appointments, forcing applicants to restart their process, maybe re-answer questions, and potentially even pay new fees.
That sums it up well. The real emphasis now for anyone navigating this has to be on meticulous planning. Double-checking, triple-checking your new eligibility against these updated rules, and staying constantly vigilant for official updates from the consulates. Being proactive in preparing your documents and really understanding every step of the process is just more crucial than it has been for years.
It really underscores the need for careful preparation. What stands out most to you about these changes? Thinking longer term, how might this reshape international travel, professional planning for individuals, maybe even how businesses approach global talent? It certainly gives us a lot to think about. All the best navigating these changes. And we will meet again with another important matter again.